Hello guys, welcome back to another video. This time we're doing the 2024 Republican primary with these four candidates. These four candidates are the ones in the top four as of the polling right now. Trump in first, DeSantis in second, Pence is either third or fourth, with Nikki Haley who's either third or fourth as well. So currently Nikki Haley and Pence are still not double-digit candidates, so really it's pretty much a race between DeSantis and Trump, but who knows, maybe Nikki Haley or Pence could win a state. But we're going to start off with the state of Iowa, because that's the first one to vote. As of right now, I expect Trump to win Iowa. The field will be very divided. It'll probably get around 42% or 40%. I'm actually going to give it about 40% of the vote. I think that DeSantis has a lot of room to grow in in the latest poll there they conducted in Iowa, one of the gold standards of polling there. They said DeSantis, there's a lot of people undecided about him, but with Trump, there's a lot more people. They either like him or hate him, basically. So Trump's pretty much stuck at 40%, I would say. Well, DeSantis would probably be right behind Trump, honestly. Probably right around 35%, 32%. I would put him at 35 right now. And with Nikki Haley and Mike Pence, I think Mike Pence probably edges her out just by a bit, probably like 5 to 2%. I would say this would be about it, 40, 35, 15, 10. That's right around where I expect the finishes in Iowa. So right now, DeSantis is off to a pretty good start. So much so, in fact, that I do think he would be the narrow favorite to win New Hampshire as of right now. Because Trump, again, he's not super popular in New Hampshire, so I think he's definitely going to underperform here. But again, there's so many candidates running that Trump maybe he could win against DeSantis just by like a percent or two in New Hampshire because of that divided field. But again, I just think Trump will only get 31% in New Hampshire, while Nikki Haley probably edges out Pence in this state. So she gets third and Pence gets fourth. The next state would be South Carolina. It's a winner-take-all state, and Trump would be very favored to win it. He probably wins it by about 38 to 40. I'm going to say about 38%. Well, DeSantis probably gets around 28%. Again, Nikki Haley's home state, so she would probably get around 22% of the vote. Well, Pence gets fourth again. So again, Nikki Haley's best performance here. She wouldn't win the state as of right now because the polling currently shows her still in third place or in a close second place showed off with DeSantis and Nikki Haley, but I think she'll still get third in her own home state. And at this point, I think Nikki Haley drops out because once you lose your home state, you're done. You can't win a primary if you don't win it. At that point, it really triggers the people there. If they lose their home state, they are definitely dropping out. But we're going to the state of Nevada. Nikki Haley recently has dropped out. I think DeSantis might be the narrow favorite to win the state, but I wouldn't be surprised if Trump wins it too, because there has been this trend in the polling where Trump actually does better with non-white voters in the Republican primary, while with white voters, Trump and DeSantis are tied. But again, Latinos aren't that super big of a base for the Republicans in their primaries, so I think it'll be very close between Trump and DeSantis, but I still think DeSantis is going to edge him out here. Well, with Pence, I think he probably gets only 16%, so I'll give the rest of these delegates equally out to Trump and DeSantis. So 44 to 40, well, Pence only gets 16. At that point, I don't even know if Pence would stay until Super Tuesday. He's just been finishing frequently in third or fourth place, winning no states. But let's get to these states. So now I'm just going to be using margins for the rest of them instead of delegate math. So with Vermont, it's probably going to be a safe DeSantis state. It's very much establishment for Republicans, so I do think DeSantis be favored to win here. Now we're going to go to the safe Trump states. Arkansas, Oklahoma, again, a lot of his base are in both these states. He'd be very favored to win them. Tennessee as well. I don't really think Trump is down in Tennessee like the poll's been saying. I do think he's still up ahead here by quite a bit. Same with Alabama. Again, there's some of the more Trump-friendly states. I think he'll be pretty favored to win both of them. But in Georgia, DeSantis will be overwhelmingly the favorite to win in their primary. He frequently leads by double digits here against Trump, so Trump would not win this state. In Massachusetts, again, it's a more moderate state, I would argue. And overall, moderate Republicans really don't like Trump that much, so I do think DeSantis would be a slight favorite here. Same with Maine. I think Susan Collins might just endorse DeSantis, so Trump wouldn't win. And with Youngkin, I think he would give him an endorsement as well, but he only narrowly wins the state. In North Carolina, I think Trump is still narrowly favored, but I wouldn't be shocked if DeSantis could pull off a victory here, whereas right now, Trump's leading the national polling by around 10 points, so I do think he would be probably up in North Carolina because it'd probably be one of the swing states in the Republican primary. With Minnesota, again, Trump really underperformed in Minnesota in 2016's Republican primary, so I would expect DeSantis to do pretty decent here, but it is a sort of Rust Belt state, Midwestern state, so I'm going to put it as a lean margin instead of likely. So, yeah. With the state of Texas, it's another swing state in the Republican primary. So far, Trump has a pretty decent lead in the state of Texas, but I do expect that to narrow if it's a two-man race, which I kind of expect it to be. I think Pence would drop out by this point if he just didn't win anything or didn't even get second in a single state. But I think it'll be lean. If Pence is still in, probably likely, but it'll probably be lean. In Colorado and Utah, again, these are more the DeSantis favorite states. I think he would easily win both of them by over 10%. And California as well, I think you'd do pretty strong in. He would probably win it by a likely margin. So as of right now, it's a pretty close race between Trump and DeSantis. Maybe DeSantis has a slight edge because I think he has more states won so far, but there's a lot of Trump-friendly states coming up. Mississippi is one of those, same with Missouri. I think you'd be pretty favored to win in both these states against DeSantis. Even the state of Michigan, I do think Trump would be seen as more populist by Republican primary voters, and he would be favored to win that state. But North Dakota, they have a weird system where party insiders vote there, so DeSantis would be pretty favored to win here by a likely margin. Idaho has a lot of Mormon voters like Utah, but it's not super Mormon like Utah, so that's why it's only a lean margin. So again, I do think Trump would underperform with Mormon voters. He didn't really do that well with them in 2016 in the first place. In Washington, there's more moderate Republicans up here, so I do think DeSantis would be slightly favored to win in Washington state. So let's see the next few primaries. It would probably be Kentucky, Louisiana, held on a weekend. Kentucky, again, it's one of Trump's most friendly states towards him, so I think you'd be able to pretty much win it by a lot here. Maybe even 20 points against DeSantis. And Louisiana would be a bit closer than Kentucky, but still a likely state for Donald Trump. So, the next few states. Florida, it's DeSantis' home state. I don't believe that poll that Emerson conducted that showed DeSantis down here. I think Emerson's very Trump-friendly with their polls in the Republican primary. I just don't think DeSantis is lower than Trump here. I think DeSantis would easily blow him out of the water. That's what every other poll says in Florida anyway. DeSantis is up by more than 10 points here. He's a popular governor as well in the state of Florida. He's more well-liked in Florida than Trump, just based off the favorability side of things. In Ohio, though, I think Trump would be extremely favored to win the state. He's a more populist than DeSantis. Again, he would get more populist voters in the state in the Republican primary. In Illinois with Chicago, I could see DeSantis probably winning that city, but again, I do think the rural areas would really help out Trump here. In Wyoming, again, it's a weird state, but I think it would be a likely state in favor of Trump. With Arizona, at this point, I was given to DeSantis before, but with Trump kind of doing better in this polling, I think you'll be able to win over this swing state in the Republican primary. With Alaska and Hawaii, I think both these states would still go to DeSantis, but by lean margins, be pretty competitive. But let's see here. The district of D.C., I think that would easily go to DeSantis. Party insiders would rather have DeSantis over Trump because of electability in the general election. With Nebraska and Kansas, I think these states are super rural, and Trump would easily win Nebraska and probably win Kansas by a likely margin, maybe even safe. With the state of Wisconsin, again with populist voters, Trump would have pretty easy time winning here, probably win it by a lean margin, and now we move into these remaining states and territories. I'll just do the territories right now. I think Trump would probably sweep nearly all of them, but Puerto Rico would be pretty competitive. But again, I think Trump would be slightly favored to win Puerto Rico against DeSantis because of his strength with non-white voters. I do think this Republican primary would have a lot of Latinos voting in, and Trump would probably narrowly win them against DeSantis, but it'll be really competitive. Could go either way. Now these last few states. New York, surprisingly, polling has shown this state as very close as of right now. And you know what? I believe it at this point. I think this state's one of the more moderate states in the Republican primary, and Trump swapped his home state to Florida. So that might not make primary voters super happy for him anymore. He kind of lost that home state advantage in New York. But in Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, I think all these states would probably go to Trump by narrow margins, with Connecticut and Rhode Island probably going to DeSantis, similar to how Massachusetts went to him, and Maryland. I do think that Hogan just might endorse DeSantis because he doesn't want Trump to win, and that might give DeSantis that one last push to win in the state of Maryland. But in West Virginia and Indiana, these are just Trump lock states. You'd easily win in both of them. There's a lot of rural areas here that you just dominate in, especially because both these states are kind of part of the Rust Belt as well, and I do think Trump would have better populist appeal to them. In South Dakota and Montana, I think both these states would go to Trump. And with Oregon and New Mexico, Oregon I think would go to DeSantis as of right now, while Trump would narrowly win New Mexico against him with his strength of non-white voters so far in the polling. So overall, Trump wins the Republican primary, but it's a lot closer fought than 2016. I do think DeSantis has a decent shot. He just needs to win either Texas, New York, North Carolina, Arizona. If he wins those states, he could regain the primary, especially in California. If he gets over 50% of the vote, he gets all the delegates there. So it could be a delegate game at this point. So there's paths for both these candidates to win, but there really isn't that much of a path for Nikki Haley or Mike Pence to win. So it's really just a two-candidate race so far, but that could change. So that's my Republican primary prediction. Let me know what you think of this in the video in the comments section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.